Well, let's get straight into the news in detail. Brace yourself for the COVID-19 fourth wave, which is expected to hit the country in about 2 to 3 weeks. This warning has been issued by the Minister of Health, Nkosi, who says there is a new variant discovered in Botswana and Hong Kong driving this wave. Nkosi has advised the Eswatini to get a booster jab.
Longakaze wagoma siyacela ukuthi nihambe kuyogonywa nyalo ngoba le variant letako asiyadlosa itasigulisa kangakanani.
Minister of Health Nkosi says the new variant has also been discovered in South Africa and precedence has been that once discovered in the neighboring country, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to hit Eswatini. The minister says people should get booster shots for
Nangabe ugome nga-AstraZeneca kusho kusemva kwetinyanga letisithupha so ungacala uphinze uthole le booster. Kodwa-ke lapho khona lokusitele kufuna sikucacise bantu labadzala labangetulu kwa-60 nalabo labaphila netifo tsite lesi singema-comorbidities bona bangacala lokuthi bayithole ibooster emva kwetinyanga letintsatfu kuya etinyangeni letisithupha. Kusho ukuthi nyalo nje siyabagcugcutela kakhulu abantu labadzala labacala bativikela le ngabo-March. Nalabo labativikele noma nina ngabe isikhathi sesiyakhombisa ukuthi sewuphelile 3 months noma kuya ku-6 months, labo labadzala nalaba nema-comorbidities bona bangasheshe bacale labanye kulungele ukuthi tinyanga tibe sithupha. Ayifanani-ke le mithi yethu sibe sesiba na Johnson & Johnson lo jova kanye. Johnson & Johnson ngale ndlela labamakhe ngayo bathi na ufuna ufake lo mjovo noma kunini emva kwetinyanga letimbili kusukela etinyanga letimbili kuyetulu naku Johnson & Johnson ubona ukuthi uyadzinga emtimbeni wakho ukuthi ungafaka ibooster uyakhona kuyifaka. Johnson & Johnson yedvana. Pfizer ku-Pfizer sijova abantwana kusukela kubantwana labana 12 siphinze sichubeke siyojova size kufike kulaba asinaba booster noma kungaphela lo 6 months ngoba kuyabonakala ukuthi bona noma ngabe lo mkhuhlane bangena abagcini bakuma-ventilators usho ukuthi abagulisi kakhulu.
Nkosi says health workers will be at national and other major events to test people for COVID-19 and give them booster shots. Deputy Director of Health, Fortunate Bembe, explains about the new variant.
Ukuthi i-mutate kakhulu kuma-spike proteins ayo. Ema-spike proteins ayo ke ngiwo lethi nayingena la mtimbeni ithi attach ngawo la kulama cells ethu emtimbeni. Ema-spike proteins ayo ngiwo levamise kutargetwa imijovo yethu. So sivile ethi ama-mutations labonakele endeke lapho. However, akaka-mutate onke lawo nangisana ama-spike proteins. So sinalo lelithemba lokuthi even though itawungena ikhaceke emtimbeni yethu mhlambe isifakele i-COVID, still asikakabheki ukuthi isigulise kube madima. Lokukhulu lokubonakele ngayo kwanyalo ukuthi imutate kakhulu kuma-spike proteins ayo. Ema-spike proteins ayo ke ngiwo lethi nayingena la mtimbeni ithi attach ngawo la kulama cells ethu emtimbeni. Ema-spike proteins ayo ngiwo levamise kutargetwa imijovo yethu. So sivile ethi ama-mutations labonakele endeke lapho. However, akaka-mutate onke lawo nangisana ama-spike proteins. So sinalo lelithemba lokuthi even though itawungena ikhaceke emtimbeni yethu mhlambe isifakele i-COVID, still asikakabheki ukuthi isigulise kube madima.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Prince Simelane, urges town planners to take into consideration the environment and sustainability of communities when designing urban areas. The minister was speaking at Esibayeni Lodge in Matsapa during the Town Planning Day commemoration, where he said good town planning encompasses balance between demands of land being developed and the needs of the community.
Every year on the 8th of November, the world commemorates the Town Planning Day. Even though Eswatini was not able to hold celebrations on the day, the different town representatives came together at Esibayeni Lodge in Matsapa to mark the day. Speaking during the event, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Prince Simelane, says there is a need to balance the needs of the land being developed and the needs of the communities.
Nibahlelisi nje bemadolobha nelive libukenine lethembenine kwebokuthi ngini leniyawuphumelelisa lelicebo lembube lengwenyama Mswati wesithathu lokuthiwa ngivision.
The minister says town planners hold the hope for Eswatini to be one of the contributors to His Majesty King Mswati III's Vision 2022 and beyond of Eswatini status. He challenges the town planners to bring development in informal settlements in different towns around the country. The minister says infrastructure like roads, water, electricity, sewage systems should be made a priority in the informal settlements.
Nibahlelisi siphindze senikhumbuze bekunene kokuthi umsebenzi wenu mkhulu emadolobheni. Nato tikomo letigcwele live lethe emadolobheni lokufanele nisukume niyohlelisa nilethe intuthuko.
Minister says Eswatini has 14 towns. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Matsapa.
Government will ensure strong laws and policies in order to protect human rights of human and other marginalized groups, including people living with HIV and AIDS. This was said by the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Polile Shakantu, during the Manzini Region World AIDS Day commemoration.
Manzini Regional World AIDS Day was commemorated at the University of Eswatini, which is under Waluseni constituency. Manzini Regional Public Health Matron Dr. Albert Twala says Waluseni constituency is leading nationally in terms of recent HIV infections, which is strong evidence of ongoing HIV transmission. He says the infections is seen coming from younger females aged between 15 to 29 among pregnant and breastfeeding women, and very low males are identified. During the commemoration, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Polile Shakantu, says the country will, among other things, come up with policies to protect vulnerable groups.
Government will ensure laws and policies in order to protect the human rights of women and other marginalized groups, including key populations of people living with HIV, to ensure they are protected from gender-based violence and other forms of violence. On behalf of the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini, and in line with the WHO guidelines and the Ministry of Health COVID-19 regulations, as we commemorate World AIDS Day, let us remember to comply with the set COVID-19 regulations in our daily uptake of HIV services.
The National Emergency Response Council on HIV and AIDS Director Kanya Mabuza elaborated on strategies to fight HIV/AIDS which will be implemented next year.
Siyathembisa ukuthi nasiqala kulomnyaka lesiyaku kunene lesitakwena kaManzini ikakhulu sikhuluma tindzaba temntana wentombazana sikhuluma tindzaba tabobabe ikakhulu bobabe lakhanda bathandana abantwana bemantombazana abancane tinhlelo funa siqinisa kakhulu la kaManzini netinhlelo ukuthi abantu abaphila ne-HIV njengoba uva nje ukuthi labantwana ba-HIV positive but kuthi lama support group.
During the ceremony, it was also revealed that fewer males are getting tested for HIV, yet those who are HIV positive continue spreading the virus and probably having multiple partners, hence the high infections among females versus males. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Matsapa.
The country will continue to intensify its fight against HIV and AIDS until the war against HIV is won. This was said by the Minister of Public Service, Mabulala Masego, during the Ministry's World AIDS Day commemoration.
Public Services, Mabulala Masego, says the candle lighting ceremony's purpose is to remind all civil servants and the nation at large that while the country is faced with the coronavirus pandemic, HIV/AIDS remains a threat.
The purpose of this function is to remind all civil servants and the nation at large that whilst we are currently faced with the coronavirus pandemic, which has taken the whole world by storm, we must always remember that the fight against the other world's enemy, HIV and AIDS, is still raging on. We are all encouraged to continue fighting it as a nation until we overcome. It is very encouraging to learn that the country has attained its 95 targets, which means that 95 of the people living with HIV have been diagnosed, 95 are on retroviral therapy, and 95 are virally suppressed among those who are being treated. For this, we want to appreciate nature, who has been instrumental in the coordination of all HIV-related issues and programs, especially in the public service.
Eswatini Ngambule speaks on behalf of the National Emergency Response Council on HIV and AIDS during the commemoration day.
Sesibona ayenyuka ema-new infections. Bantwana labana 15 to 24 bemithi, Honorable Minister. Usuka la uyeka amanzini utawuphambana utawukhanza 10 noma 20 wabo baqhubetisa. Sizathu yini COVID usifakile sandla. Bantu bethu bebahlele emakhaya bangafundi. Babulawa sidunge. Na ubulawa sidunge ke into lethi duduta ngayo noma lethi libathisa ngayo ngilokuthi ni shiyelane logwayi lapho. Bemithi ke Honorable Minister, ema-new infections ayenyuka ayeshutha ayaletu. Ikakhulu lala sikhona khona nje ngokwaluseni nakuletinye tinkulu. Lokunye ke lokusikhathathako Honorable Minister, emadoda akayi kuyotest. Only 26% la eveni labasatiko simo sabo sengati.
Minister Maseko encourages those infected by HIV/AIDS to continue taking treatment as prescribed by medical practitioners, as it has immensely reduced the mortal rate. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Matsapa.
It is very important for government to fully support arts and culture so the country continues to be leading worldwide and also boost the country's economy through arts and culture. This was said by the Minister of Culture, Harris Bulunga, during the crowning of Miss Cultural Heritage. During the same event, the minister launched the Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture strategy.
Since art and culture is commonly used by many countries, Eswatini is in a process to strengthen the arts and culture sector to boost its GDP. The Minister of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs, Harris Bulunga, crowned Ngebo Dlamini as 2021 to 2022 Miss Cultural Heritage. The first princess is Zinzima Palala and the second princess is Nompilo Dlamini. During the event, Minister Bulunga launched the Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture Board, which resumed their term in office in July this year, but it has not been availed due to COVID-19. The chairperson of the board is Hansense Dlamini. Other members are Nsika Fakuthi, Spesihle Nkwanyana, Naniki Mnisi, as well as Matokoza Sibia.
Siyathi ukuthi sekufuneka nyalo ukuze tinto tihambe kahle sisebenze ngendlela engatayeleki, sibe innovative, and at the same time sibe nalentshisekelo noma i-drive yokusebenta. So i-board itshengisile ukuthi kule strategy ngitho indlela letawusebenta ngako ukuthi ikhona ukuthi leligoli lethunywe lona ukuthi improve le sector arts and culture igcine seyilishayile. Njengoba sathi ukuthi industry yethu ayisi regulated kahle, ngiko lokunye lokukhalisa ema-artists ukanze ukuthi lokusebenta kwaba kahleleki kude imithetho lekugunyatako lekenda ukuthi kube fully recognized as an industry batokhona ku benefita fully from it. So ngibo labathunyiwe ukuthi lo mthetho longamele yona i-Arts and Culture lesithi phecelezi i-Arts and Culture Act ugcine sowukhona and usebente. And then lokunye labathunywa kona ke kumobilize ama resources bacabange babe innovative kuma income generating projects, because without resources kude lama artists la ngakuzuza kufuna kube netikhwama letaba khona lapho tawukhanza ukuthi yakhona ku cabanga ema programs nokuthi ama artists a benefit fully. Lokunye ku diversify income nema revenue streams so that the industry itoba sustainable noma kungachamuka timo letinjengana i-COVID lelimatele industry kakhulu, but ukhanza ukuthi ema artists awahlupheki besayalamba ngokuthi kude indlela yokwanakekela.
The minister applauds Miriam Lopes and Catherine, who represented Eswatini in international stages and did a commendable job. The new Miss Cultural Heritage is taking reins from the Manyanza Magongo. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Mbonga Dube Zulwini.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilagati, says carbon emissions have a negative impact on tourism. Vilagati says although Eswatini is one of the countries with the least emissions, it should help other countries with environmental issues for the tourism sector to grow. Vilagati said this during a virtual meeting with other ministers from the continent where they were celebrating African Tourism Day.
Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs Moses Vilagati meeting with ministers from other African countries. The purpose was to celebrate Africa Tourism Day with an analysis of how the tourism sector performed last year. Vilagati says what they have observed is that emissions contributed negatively to the tourism sector.
Sinesilive kulokuhlukubeda imvelo unqane lesikufaka kule kuhlukumedeni lesingathi ngilama emissions. Kepha ke noma kunjalo kufuneka ukuthi sibonakale ukuthi nanathi siyahambisana nemhlaba wonkana ukuthi letintuthu letichamuka kuwo emave ehliswe. Singabekisa nje ukuthi thine kude kuletintuthu si level tintuthu talo 0.007% wemhlaba wonke. Lokusho ukuthi dincane vele. Ngoba livele linetintuthu liye bese lilimata kakhulu leti tekuvakasha. Kanzi uma ngabe bantu bathi ukuthi kuleyo ndzawo lesiya kuyo i-clean iyakhona ukuthi imvelo inakekele bathi ke beta kakhulu.
Vilagati uthi laba kubonile ukuthi kunyukubedeka kwemvelo ngulokunye lokuthi kabete tekuvakasha emhlabeni. The minister says Eswatini is committed to decisions taken at COP26 where issues of reducing desertification were discussed. Vilagati says Eswatini is already in line with this as it has a target of planting 10 million trees. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Mbabane.
The Minister of Public Works, Chief Hlaza Ndwandwe, has handed over working materials to employees working under the Livelihood Support Project under the Togodweni constituency. The minister thanked the people for working tirelessly and decreasing the number of road accidents in the region.
Induna yelitiko letemsebenti lemkhulu nekuthutha Chief Hlaza Ndwandwe sethule impahla letawusebenziswa sive senkhundla yaseTogodweni sisanakekela imigwaco. Leti timpahla letitawusita ukuthi sive sisasebenta sisachubeka nekususa umena emgwacweni sibe ngulesiphephile.
Apologies there for the wrong report, the Swati report. We will forward with the news. The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, has launched officially the Gwebu Chiefdom Development Plan. Mabuza says this initiative encourages community empowerment which will improve standards of living at Gwebu in a meaningful and sustainable way.
The Gwebu Chiefdom Development Plan has been crafted through the technical support of Eswatini through the European-funded High Value Crop and Horticultural Project. The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, says he is happy to learn that the community has a 15.96 hectare banana farm with the first harvest expected in March next year. Mabuza says this project is in alignment with his ministry's 2018 to 2023 strategy, which pledged to transform agriculture into a modernized, sustainable and export-oriented sector that contributes to improved food security and overall economic development.
What was of very important to us was that they have now embarked on a project, 16 hectares for banana production. And we are happy to hear that in that 16 hectares project will produce about 478 metric tons, which will give them in monetary terms 1,072,000. We are very grateful for this, and we encourage the community to please continue. We heard as a ministry that they have another 38 hectares that is ready for the same production, and we encourage them to go into the production of banana in a big way, because in no time, or they can then generate more than 3 million emalange, because in 16 hectares they have managed to generate about 1,072,000, which will be generated in March 2022.
The Member of Parliament of Kagwebu Chiefdom.
Because la khathi lingumkhombandlela sesawuphuma sibheke kuphi manje etindzaweni ukuthi maybe kunendzaba yekudla food security lapha even ukuthi singazama kanjani ukuthi sisustain silive singilabantu balapha kaGwebu futhi nendzaba futhi ukuthi imigwaqo itawusebenzisa kanjani nemadlelo ataba kanjani nalapho khona kutawukhona kubeka khona kuhlelisa kwabantu ukuthi batawuhlelisa kanjani. So nje siyabonga nami nokuthi nasiphuma lapha iCDC nenkundla itawukhona kuhlala phansi bambisana ukuthi iway forward ithini.
The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, also commended the inclusion of women and youth in the enterprises as they are becoming the powerhouse in agriculture development. Sifiso Ngumalo with Smuva Shongwe for Eswatini TV News, Kagwebu Chiefdom.
Eswatini TV will have a change in its broadcast schedule. This is to bring live major events such as the Mbabane Marathon, Lucho Festival and the Ballon d'Or. This was announced by the station's public relations officer, Nombumelelo Dlamini.
Umbukeli sitawufisa nje kumatisa ukuthi kutawuba nelishintsho lelikhona tinhlelweni tethu kulembela sonto njengoba kusukela kusasekuseni sonke siyadika ukuthi municipality of Mbabane was hosting or is hosting a half city marathon. Sitabe sikuletha kukhoma ke thina sivetela ababukeli labantu abangaphumeleli kuba yingcenye yalona mcimbi kusukela ekseni kusasa nga 5:30 sitabe semoyeni bringing it live up until 8 a.m. lokusho ukuthi inhlelo dabakhewane leti tawuthinzeka njengoba sonke sathi ukuthi ngemigcibelo ekseni kusuke kusikhathi sabo tabe seke ukuthi emini kusasa the 27th of November njengoba sonke ke futhi sathi ukuthi Standard Bank bekasola memetela iLuchu Festival lokungumkhosi lomkhulu usibili nathi ke sing Eswatini TV besibukete ukuthi babukela bangasali ngaphandle sitabe sibisakada bukhoma kusukela nga 8:30 Ntsambama kuze kube ngu11 Ntsambama tinhlelo leti tawuthinzeka ke kusasa eNtsambama kutawube kuyi the bit down inhlitiyo kayivunyelwa kanye naye boyescope wethu lesiyayisibe naye njalo njengabomgcibelo Luchu sitawuphinze silisakade bukhoma futhi ngelisonto kusukela nga 3 p.m. kuze kube nge 5 p.m. Tinhlelo leti tawuthinzeka lapho ngwasha umkhukhu na etiko ngemsombuluko ke themkosi kusukela nga 8:30 kuze kube nge 11 p.m. sitabe sine Ballon d'Or awarding ceremony njengoba sonke sathi ukuthi kune international sporting or soccer awards tabe kuhlonyeliswa bona abadlali bebhola lesinabo bamhlaba wonke. So that's going to be brought to umbukeli live from France. Lokutawuthinzeka nje lapho themkosi kutawube kumbe ku ntemidlalo kodwa kasikalahleki kakhulu njengoba sonke sathi ukuthi Ballon d'Or is also part of the midlalo only. This one is an international event. Sitabe sibona bona bo Lionel Messi nabo Ronaldo njengoba kutabe kuhlonyeliswa the best that we have in soccer internationally. Kukuthemba kwethu ke ukuthi ke umbukeli lonke ke yena khona ekuphumelela kube ingcenye yalena micimbi lesinayo eveni kumbe kusukela kusasa kuze kube lisondvo utawukhona kodwa ke naye kuba lokubonako bukhoma njengoba we'll be bringing it live so they will not miss out on much.
Let's have a look at tonight's financial indicators.
Standard Bank. It can be.
And in sports news, the Minister for Sports, Harris Bolunga, says the Region 5 Games align well to the government's commitment of long-term sports development. The minister was speaking when bidding farewell to the national team heading for the Region 5 Games to be staged in Maseru, Lesotho.
When the Minister for Sports, Harris Bulunga, was bidding farewell to the 75 delegates that will be attending the Region 5 Games in Maseru, Lesotho, he highlighted how the government is determined in supporting sports, more especially from the youth development stages.
These games are aligned with His Majesty's government's commitment to the long-term athlete development program. Government is cognizant of the need to make serious and consistent investment into such long-term development initiatives in order to create an unbreakable chain of sporting excellence in the kingdom. I am therefore pleased to inform you that government has in total invested about 1.5 million to cover the preparation and sending of expenses that Team Eswatini is able to attend these games.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Sports Recreational Council, Mr. Darius Domo, says they are expecting nothing else but medals from the team that is going to Lesotho.
These big development games, the experience as young as they are. But I don't want to lie. If Bora and now to be corner the Sipa corner, Naga athletics, corner the Sipkatide, boxing, na corners Katide. Kanjalo na le team ya volleyball ngidasho nje bonke yabona lengingaphose ngithi abahambe bayofunda nduna ngilaba baka swimming.
6 different sporting courts that will be attending this game, which include volleyball, swimming, football, boxing, taekwondo and athletics. And some of the officials that will be leaving the country will not only be attending just the games, but they will be officiating in this game, which the country sees it as a milestone. Reporting for Eswatini, TV Sports News, I am Patricio MCB with Linda Dlamini, Babane.
That's all the news we had for you tonight. Before we leave you, let's have a look at the headlines again. The COVID-19 fourth wave is expected to hit the country in about 2 to 3 weeks. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Prince Simelane, urges town planners to take into consideration the environment and sustainability of communities when designing urban areas. Government will ensure strong laws and policies in order to protect human rights of humans and other marginalized.
Growing up in a big family, there weren't always enough seats at the table, so we started eating on the floor so that we could enjoy our food and cokes together. I kept that tradition in my own family to remind us that the most important part of any meal is being together.